Senator Bob Corker, Republican from Tennessee, chairs the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, good morning. Nice to see you.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Let's start with this situation in Niger. Reporting now says that these soldiers may have been set up, that these tribal leaders may have delayed them and waited for this trap to be set so that they were attacked, which raises questions about what the mission was. Did the mission change? Was the intelligence faulty? I'm sure you're going to be a part of that briefing on Capitol Hill on Thursday. What's your most pressing question?
Well, look, the military is really good about methodically going through this and trying to get the facts out, and I'm sure on Thursday even they will not be complete. The bigger issue is what is it we're doing around the world, and we're going to begin to have hearings a week from last night here in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. I think the Armed Services Committee is doing the same. We have troops throughout the world that are fighting extremists that wish us harm. And yet we're working off an old congressional authorization for the use of force that was put in place in '01. And I think just an examination of what we're doing around the world, what the directives are, what freedoms our troops have on the ground, which you know, in many cases in the past they've been hamstrung. But this is going to begin a bigger debate that really was already underway, but it's going to be a part of that.
And Senator, let me just ask you, because as you well know, your colleagues, Senator Graham on the Republican side, Senator Schumer on the Democrat side, acknowledged this weekend they didn't even know that we had that number of soldiers operating in Niger. Did you know? Were you surprised? Are you concerned if you didn't?
No, I did know. I received a congressional notification, I think it was in June. They likely did too, and just maybe somehow didn't see that or notice it. But I was aware, and I think at the time they notified us we had 600 to 700 troops that were there. And as time goes on, you know, these things expand. But yes, I was aware that we had troops there.
Let me move on to another subject, something else happening in Washington today. The president's going to go to Capitol Hill and take part in that Senate Republican lunch and talk about tax reform. I believe you called this a photo op, which leads me to believe you don't think this is about governing. This is more about a show. Can you explain that?
Typically when something's getting ready to be launched like this, you know, there's kind of a photo op, if you will. It's the tax writing committees in the Senate and the House that are going to be laying out the $4 trillion in loophole closings that need to take place. Hopefully the White House will step aside and let that occur in a normal process. I know recently the White House in a couple of cases has been taking things off the table, and I would just say there's a lot of work to be done. The spinach part of this, the tough part of this is upcoming over the next several weeks.
So your message to the president, leave well enough alone?
I would recommend that based on recent history and just interactions. And I think that that's the best way for us to have success. But I think it's fine for him to come over. I do look at these things as more of a, you know, photo op. They're not really about substance, but, you know, more power to him.
Senator, you of course know that you've been in the news a bit for your criticism of the president. You have announced that you are not running for re-election. I've read what you said pretty carefully, and among the comments you made is that you're concerned his comments, the president's comments, could put us on the path to World War III.
Yeah.
Let me put it bluntly. Left to his own devices, do you think the president is a threat to national security?
I think that there are people around him that work in an effort to contain him. That would be Secretary Mattis and Tillerson and General Kelly there as Chief of Staff.
Well, that almost seems to accept the premise of the question, if he needs to be contained.
I do think when you have the kind of issue we're dealing with in North Korea, where we have a very unstable leader there, when you send out tweets into the region to raise tensions, when you kneecap, which is what he's done publicly, when you kneecap your Secretary of State, whose diplomacy you have to depend upon to really bring China to the table to do the things that need to be done, back channeling in some cases to North Korea. When you kneecap that effort, you really move our country into a binary choice, which could lead to a world war. So yes, I want him to support diplomatic efforts, not embarrass and really malign efforts that are underway to try to get some kind of diplomatic solution here. And I think most people would agree with that.
Were you disappointed, Senator? I mean, it seemed to me when you made these comments recently, you were saying to your colleagues, come on, folks, let's go. I'll get out here. and let's speak truth to power. And then there was this thud and a kind of eerie silence. Are you disappointed that more of your colleagues didn't speak their minds following your comments?
You know, not really. Look, I came here in a missional way. I'm serving 2 terms and leaving. I've always been an independent voice. I was raised, I built a company and a rough and tumble business. It's just my nature to be direct and very independent. I think that's what people from Tennessee sent me to do. And so this has been building for some time as I've watched the way the White House has operated. My concerns have continued to rise, and look, I'm one senator who is expressing what I believe to be sincere, what I know to be sincere concerns, and other senators may have other issues they're dealing with, but this is the role that I believe I should play for the good of our country and for the good of the world, really.
Senator Bob Corker. Senator, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.